and a plant has been producing it for eons. But what is unique about Protandim is the composition. So it is 5 natural products that have been used in traditional medicine for many years, many hundreds of years. And what we found that resulted in the patents is that there is synergy among these 5 compounds. And that was a real discovery that was not evident prior to the laboratory work that led to that realization. Synergy means that the effect of a group of things working together, when those things could be human beings in an office situation, they could be chemical compounds all doing something similar. Synergy is when the net result of the 5 compounds working together exceeds the sum of their individual contributions. So if you add up what A, B, C, D, and E do, in the case of Protandim, the 5 working together have an effect 18 times greater than the sum of their parts. And that is a remarkable aspect to Protandim of how it works and was largely responsible for the issuance of those patents. That's what makes the Protandim formula unique and, in fact, patentable. And it means that you can't get the effect of Protandim from one or another of those compounds. The synergy is what allows it to work effectively.
So what do the patents say, in essence?
The patents protect the composition. So it is a composition patent in both cases that are issued. And they say that Protandim works, this is its composition, and no one can copy this.
So it's safe. In other words, we can't have any copycat imitators of Protandim using the same preparation.
Correct.
Dr. McCord, I imagine back in 1968 when you made this discovery of superoxide dismutase, you probably didn't know then that some 40 years hence there'd be 20 some odd respected universities all studying on their own expense a preparation that you'd come up with for something such as Protandim. It must be an incredible thing to look back on. Give us a sense of what's being studied by what universities and what we're learning from those studies.
When this story finally became a story, that it was put together and we saw how Protandim worked and what it did, I began presenting it to groups of colleagues. That's the way academic science functions. And it was remarkable to me how readily accepted the concept was. I could present this to an audience, and the first time I did it, I was expecting all kinds of critics. And to my surprise, they got it. They got it instantly. They saw the ramifications. They saw that this was a long-awaited tool that would now allow them to answer questions that they may have been studying in their own laboratories for years. And so almost every time I presented it, there would be 2 or 3 or more colleagues approaching me afterwards saying, you know, I have a system in my lab where I think this could help me answer the question. So let's collaborate. Let's do an experiment to see what Protandim does in my system. And that has happened more than 20 times, probably 30 or 40 times. Some of those have progressed now to the stage of human clinical trials.
Well, it makes sense when you consider that oxidative stress creates the foothold for all of these difficult diseases to take root.
Right.
And when we recognize that, we look for ways to reduce oxidative stress. And since Protandim has come on the scene, you've personally received so much interest from all these academic institutions. Very exciting to continue to follow the progress of these studies. So, Dr. McCord, what exactly is the antioxidant myth?
The antioxidant myth is a realization by scientists. I don't know if it's attributable to any one scientist, but has become discussed in the last few years, and it centers on the recognition that taking direct antioxidants has not provided the solution that we all hoped it would for oxidative stress. And I think the myth, the choice of word there, is that, in fact, direct antioxidants, conventional direct antioxidants, can, under some circumstances, even make the problem worse rather than helping to fix the problem. And so there's a paradox. The use of direct antioxidants is what some scientists would call a double-edged sword. There are benefits in one direction and maybe problems in another direction. They're offsetting, and sometimes you come out on the losing end of that. Indirect antioxidants, on the other hand, which is how the ingredients of Protandim are described, don't have the downside. They cannot become pro-oxidants. So they provide the benefits. They provide them in exactly the way your cells would normally provide those benefits, using the very same enzymes, the very same tools to the cells, but without the possibility of inadvertent toxic side effects.
In the scientific lexicon, we hear the term McCord units when measuring superoxide dismutase. And of course, you have to come up with a way of measuring something once you find it. So if you measure something in McCord units, what exactly are you measuring?
When SOD was discovered, it stands apart from most run-of-the-mill enzymes because its substrate is a free radical that has very low stability. You can't just make up a test tube full of superoxide and have it stable. It would dissipate very quickly. And so a special assay procedure had to be devised for this enzyme kind of uniquely. And in the paper where we discovered the enzyme, described what it is, what it does, what it looks like, how it works, we also described the way to assay it so people in other labs could then confirm what we had said and use that tool to measure the enzyme. So that peculiar assay, which is uniquely designed for this enzyme, is called the McCord-Friedrich assay because we described it, published it.
And tell us, for the layman, the definition of the word assay.
Assay is simply to measure the amount of an enzyme activity that you have. Enzymes promote reactions, and an assay is a way of just measuring how much of it there is.
So for the people listening out there, Dr. McCord, why should everybody be taking Protandim?
I think the best answer to that is that everyone is aging, at the very least. Some of us have other problems in addition to aging. So regardless of who we are, regardless of what age we are, our oxidative stress is relentlessly increasing year by year. There may be some lifestyle changes we could do to make little changes there, but it's really out of our hands unless we induce the production of more antioxidant enzymes. And that's the only way I've seen in the biomedical literature of putting a halt to that relentless increase in oxidative stress. And, it may be years, it may be decades before we fully understand the results of halting that relentless progression.
So if somebody takes Protandim who's over the age of 20, can you confirm that they can have the oxidative stress of a 20-year-old?
They already do have the oxidative stress if they're 20. If they're over 20, it will decrease. It decreases in virtually every individual we've examined. And what remains to be seen is the extent of the benefits of that reduction. And scientists are very excited. My colleagues are convinced that there will be benefits. And I think lay people maybe are more skeptical. They'll wait and see the solution, the results of those studies. But, we will know. And we have the option right now to intervene, to slow that progression. Some will do it now, some will choose to wait. But I think everyone stands to benefit, at least potentially.
Our guest today has been Dr. McCord, who has been at the forefront of antioxidant and free radical science for many years. It started as a child for Christmas when he received his first chemistry set, blossomed at Duke University, where as a postgraduate student he discovered superoxide dismutase, continued over the years in academic circles, and is now culminating with the creation and science behind Protandim. I'm Clint McKinley. Thanks for listening.
We would like to remind those listening that Protandim is a dietary supplement, not a drug. In the United States, a dietary supplement cannot legally be sold to prevent, treat, mitigate, or cure a disease or diseases, such as those which have just been discussed. Nonetheless, much scientific research is conducted in labs, or on persons who have diseases, or on signs or symptoms of diseases which involve the use of substances that are food in nature. We can learn a lot from those studies that can result in better food or food supplements, or in newly discovered benefits from the consumption of a product such as Protandim.